I lost it. What do we do when family members think we have been brainwashed as a result of the Buddha's teaching? They think we've gone crazy. You want to start?
Well, I don't know what to say, but my mother was at one point, I gave her a book because I wanted to introduce her to Buddhism, and she found that's brainwashing. And I said to her, yeah, that's right. And afterwards it's purified.
Yeah.
And so we started to look at it from a different angle, and she was kind of in that in that war generation when people were afraid, and then the Russians came, and people were sent into how do you say that?
Concentration camps.
Yeah, and brainwashed. So that is really a big fear in that.
It's funny. There's a sick joke that we have about, I don't even know if I should say it, but you know the word concentration camp. It actually is, there's a play on words there. Because there's this one place, and I'm not going to say where it was, but this place where the monk who designed it is obviously not a meditator, and it's the saddest piece of meditation construction that I've ever seen. It's not really a good joke because it's, the Holocaust was a serious thing, and it's something that people hold very seriously. But it's such a terrible joke, I shouldn't even tell it, but you kind of get where I'm going. And so I don't know if I can tell it, but it was really funny. Because just a disclaimer that I'm not a sort of person who looks down on the Holocaust. One thing I would say is there have been many Holocausts in history, and it's kind of sad that only the one in Germany is remembered so strongly. But Germany, there were a lot of terrible things that went on based on this one man and his crazy followers, who killed a lot of people in horrific ways. I don't know. I'm not going to go there. Let's just move on.
Okay, so then back to my mom.
Back to the question of what's really important. Sorry.
So there is that really deep-sitting fear in people of that generation to be brainwashed and not to be able to think what they want, and I could convince her that it is sometimes really good not to think what you want, and that it is really beneficial to be brainwashed, and that is something that is not something that is obstructed upon you from outside, but is that it is something that you decide that you want to do for yourself and for the benefit for you and for the others. So it's a whole different story than what they fear, actually. And the result is purification of mind and is liberation. And once she understood that, she gave up the whole concept, and she lost her fear about that her daughter could be brainwashed.
It's an interesting, I would say that all brainwashing is in a sense a kind of a purification. And that's what makes it so dangerous, because when the mind is pure in this sense, it's not in a Buddhist sense, but when the mind is focused and bright, you can put all sorts of crazy ideas in there. When it's a clean slate, right, you can write on it. When the mind is all distracted, it's very difficult for an authoritarian body to impose its rules. That's why you have mottos and chanting, or ceremonies, and you have these marching. This is why armies will do drills, right? And they get into this concentration in many different ways. It's how you teach people how to kill others. How you train murderers. You have to brainwash them. But the brainwashing itself is actually, I think, in many ways similar to meditation. It's just, so what I wanted to say in regards to that is that you shouldn't look at it in terms of, what is brainwashing, or use this word brainwashing as to say it's bad. You should look at, well, what is being taught here? Because there is, in a sense, a sort of indoctrination, only in the sense, in the very limited sense that you're taking on some doctrine, right? So rather than say you're being indoctrinated, we should look at what is the doctrine, what is it that's being taught. Because there was this criticism in the Buddha's time. All the people of some area were all becoming monks, and everyone started making an uproar. This Samana Gautama, he's taking away our children from us. And they went to the Buddha and told him, and the Buddha said, well, just tell them that they're ordaining according to the Dhamma, the Dharma, the truth, the righteousness. Because in India, Dharma was an important thing. And so that's what they started doing. They said, well, we teach people according to the Dhamma, the truth. And then they were like, oh, well, what can you say about that? Oh, they say that Samana Gautama teaches them according to the Dhamma. Then, okay, well, that's really the point. It's what is being taught. It's not that something is being taught in a religious sort of way. I don't know if that's, well, at least my part isn't perhaps so useful. Where did we lose? But we have talked before about how to deal with family members, and one of the things I said was just being an example. Because, I'll give you an example. When I went back home and my parents started criticizing me and eventually, using fairly strong words about my state of mind, I would just close my eyes and go rising, falling. Well, they were yelling at me, right? Which was not a good thing to do in retrospect, because that's how you show someone that you've been brainwashed, right? I hadn't. From my point of view, it was like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. Let's go back to my meditation, rising, falling. Probably I should have done hearing. I didn't really have a good sense of what to do. But, you have to be able to show them the benefits of your practice. And I think eventually that's what wins them over. That's sort of how my parents have come. At this point, they can't deny the goodness of it, that I'm doing something good for myself and for other people, that I've actually developed myself and gained something positive out of it. Until that comes, you have to understand, a beginner meditator is often, I was reading this article recently, meditators can be the most egotistical people that exist. The most arrogant, most conceited individuals in the world, because like any other religious person, they've got the truth, right? And the Buddha's teaching is a very powerful truth, and when you see it and you say, wow, this is the truth, you become self-righteous. It's very easy for a beginner meditator to become self-righteous. That is a huge turn-off, obviously, for all the people around you, because you maybe weren't that sort of person before. You can actually become a worse person from their point of view. The point being, because you're still struggling with it yourself. Until you get to the point where it's comfortable for you and you're comfortable in it and able to express yourself and really actually experience the truth instead of just reading and intellectualizing about it. Once you gain this experience for yourself, you become a living proof that it's not brainwashing in the sense that they think it is, in terms of being... brainwashing doesn't just mean washing your mind. That's what I said to everyone. Yeah, brainwashing, it's washing my brain, but the word brainwashing is used to mean taking on a doctrine without any purpose, without any reason, being indoctrinated by something, as I understand it, although it's not a word that I use often.
Just maybe short, when the meditation is advancing and going good, and you develop the skills of a meditator, then your family won't think anymore that you're going crazy, I would say.
Mm.
They would like what you do, even if they don't understand what it is.
For sure, people will often say that they think they have to admit that you're a better person and so on. The problem is, in the beginning, you're taking the first steps on a very long journey, and that can be the other thing is that can be really disconcerting to you. So it can upset. I mean, for me, it totally changed my life around. Before meditating, I've said this many times, I was into a lot of things. Nick can talk about this as well. We had some shared experiences of how we were before. But so imagine having to do a total U-turn in your life, basically. I gave up my CD collection, I sold my Les Paul guitar, I gave up everything, rock climbing, piano, guitar, everything that I was into. Gave up drugs, gave up alcohol, gave up women, gave up everything that really made me who I was, honestly. Most of it, anyway. I had all of these external things that everyone knew this is who I was. So that's disconcerting to yourself, and goes without saying, it's disconcerting to other people. But most important, that you are in a state of tension, and until you get comfortable in it, and part of getting comfortable in it is actually changing your life, because the truth about if you suppose you became an arahant, you would have no choice but to ordain immediately or pass away. You are so out of whack with an ordinary life or a worldly life that you can't even survive there. So for all of us, it's that sort of experience on a much more limited scale. When you begin to practice, your life has to change. You might no longer be living with the people that you lived with before. Your friends might all disappear. Your family members, you might even become distant from them. Because you're becoming a part of the universe. You're becoming a child of the universe. That may seem kind of cheesy to say so, but you're coming to realize the truth in a much more universal way than just, I am this human who was born 32 years ago and have these people as my friends and these people as my family and have this name and so on. You rise so far above that your family is really all beings. All beings become your family. You open up to the whole spectrum of experience, and so some people find that they're whisked away to the other side of the world, and suddenly their family is people they've never met before, and the people they come in contact with, it's just bizarre. When I was in Thailand, I was in contact with people from all over the world. I've met people from countries that I never even knew existed. I taught a man from Nigeria. I taught a man from Suriname. People from all the countries in Europe, and I didn't know much about Europe at all, and then learning cultures and languages and everything. So this change has to go on in the very beginning of your meditation. It's something that will be a part of your meditation. It might not be so extreme, especially if you're practicing on a day-to-day basis, but there is going to be a conflict there. And living in the world, I think it goes without saying that you have to live with some conflict, that your life in a worldly sense, and your life in the Dhamma are not going to always jive. And that relates, I think, to your relationship with your family, which in the beginning may be quite strained until they become the other thing is, whether you're getting something good out of it or not, you're not who they expect you to be. And this is the Buddha's teaching on suffering. Suffering comes from change. We cling to a person, they are like this is my son, my daughter, my husband, my wife, and then when they change, it's like our whole, the foundation was pulled, the rug was pulled out from underneath us. It's like this with anything. You cling to something and then you think it's stable. You think this person is going to always be there, and then when they pass away, when they leave, when they change, when they act in a way that you didn't expect, that wasn't according to what you thought they were, then you suffer. So for me, it was, part of it was just that it was things that I couldn't satisfy. I couldn't go back to playing. I could, but I decided not to go back to playing guitar. I decided not to go back to joking and doing theater. I was in theater as well, and these were all things that my family loved about me. Right? You were so much fun before. Now you're a zombie. Right? Things like this, that I just couldn't be there for them in the way that I was before. I couldn't be the person that they thought I was, that I used to be. It wasn't my life path anymore. And so that takes time on for them to realize that's not the most important thing in the world, and it's not really a measure of a person's goodness or sanity or so on. And you have to understand also that they are not there yet. They don't have these realizations that you've theoretically gained in the meditation, and so they can't appreciate it. They can't see the world in a universal sense. For them, it's still, you're my son, I'm your father, I'm your mother. But through the meditation, that changes for you, and you come to feel that way about everyone, really. That you have love for everyone. You wish all beings to be good, to be well, but have no clinging to any or partiality towards anyone. Any more? Nick?
I think the biggest thing is just that you're changing, because you have to think, for everybody, it's all in how you relate to other people. Like you were saying, it's, oh, you're a fun person, you play guitar, we could do this, and all these things. It's like there are things about you that are being taken away from them. So it's no longer, oh, well, I could call him up and we could talk about this, because you won't be interested in that. And all these different things. So it's like your change is taking something away from them that they weren't expecting, but that you were open to, but like you were saying, they aren't open to. And that's the problem. And I think that you just have to kind of be okay with that and just go with it.
I mean, another part of that is you have to understand where we're coming from. Are you with these people because you share a spiritual... You're not with these people because you share a spiritual goal. The reason why you're friends with all of these people is because you're all into drugs, or you're all into music, or you're all into whatever. The reason with your family is even more arbitrary. According to Buddhism, it's karmic, and there's a relation there. But it certainly doesn't have anything to do with what you're now into. So if you've gotten into... It's like if you get into sports, you start to hang out with sports people. And if you get into academics, you start hanging out with the academic people. And if you suddenly change, then your friends obviously change. This is what I think is an important realization, and it's an important decision that one has to come to. That the reasons for us being around and being close to these certain people are perhaps not the best reasons for being close to people. So, yeah, you may lose all of your friends, but that shouldn't be surprising, because you weren't friends with them because they were spiritual people. You're friends with them because you led each other down the path to destruction, path to self-destruction. for example, or you weren't family members with these people because you shared a spiritual path. It may be that some of your family members may never be interested in what you do. You can't bring them with you because your relationship, your similarity, may have nothing to do with spirituality. The reason why you were born into a certain family may have nothing to do with your interest in spirituality. It may be totally unrelated. So you have to be open to that and decide what's important for you. I think for most people, family is very important, and that attachment is near impossible to do away with. But when you practice intensively and in a protracted manner, if you practice over the long term, and eventually you come to this realization that your true family are the people who practice the Buddhist teaching, who practice to understand reality for what it is, who practice to develop goodness inside of themselves, who practice to help the world and to make the world a better place. Those people who do good are your closest relatives, and the ones that you consider to be yourself to be close to, you associate yourself with. Oh, we finished that one, no?